everybody, welcome to The Complete Advisor. I am so glad that you're here for what is going to be an epic podcast. It is going to be Dennis Squared. You're going to get two Dennises today. Before we get started, before I tell you what we're talking about today, of course, as always, hit that like, subscribe, shoot some comments. I am very curious. Any feedback you have, any suggestions, I am all ears. And of course, you can catch the podcast wherever you like to consume podcasts. But if you catch us on YouTube, if you catch us on Spotify and then Apple, you can also watch the podcast. Anywhere else you can hear it, you can also just hear it there, but you can hear it. So today, we are joined by someone that I'm a huge fan of, actually. This is awesome. Our guest today is Dennis Mosely-Williams. And before I introduce him to you and bring him into the convo, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So, Dennis Mosely-Williams has written an amazing book. He works with advisors on, and I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to get this wrong, but he works with advisors on really experience marketing. But one of the things that he's taught me is that as advisors, we can't just work on a commodity basis. We have to build experiences. We have to be somebody worth talking about. And so one of the things that Dennis talks about is the fact of niche, weird. And so, first of all, Dennis, I should welcome you. Dennis, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, man. I'm a fan of yours too. And it's not every day. I think we've had this conversation together, two Dennises. And I think I said to you, how many Dennises have you met in your life? And you and I agree, it's like this freakishly low number. Like mine's like less than 15. I've met thousands and thousands of people in my life, professionally speaking, about 15 Dennises. I want to get connected with all of them on LinkedIn. Have a special meeting once a week.
I think we could start a LinkedIn group, and also, odd trivia for anybody else, other than our spouses probably care, but we are actually about the same size too. Like we're almost doppelgangers here in shape. You still have hair, I do not. And you look fantastic. Okay, I want to brag about you. I want to brag about you just a little bit. So one of the things that you talk about is, strategic experiences, staging. But so what you said, niche, weird, which I love when you talk about that. And you actually do this on one when I was looking you up a little bit for some notes. But so when you look at the kind of the corporate message, Dennis Mosely-Williams Strategic Counsel is a client experience marketing and strategic sales company focused on helping financial advisors and the financial services industry and related professionals. But then when you narrow that down, just like you teach about, this is from you, my clients are financial advisors who care about client experiences and guiding clients to better outcomes. I turn their boring experience into something remarkable that is worth sharing with others. And that's what we're going to talk about today is shifting and transforming from being just an advisor to really becoming advocates. And okay, I get to brag about you just a little more. You're like, well, this guy let me talk.
We should do this every day. It's great for my ego.
So
amazing.
On the website, you all have, and I love this. I love that. It's kind of the mission statement of, we think differently, we approach problems and opportunities differently because we see the world and the competitive landscape differently. And I'm going to interject because what I love about that is it is a lot of cookie cutter that's put out there. Think the same, act the same, be the same. And you all say we teach our clients a better way, a more enjoyable and genuine approach to attracting great clients, running a great business, and enjoying more life balance. We love our work and we love our life. And then the last thing before we start talking, you have on there also where it's request to talk for more. I love this. You have on there, be forewarned, we aren't for everyone.
Correct.
I love that. Okay, so I've yapped about you enough. I want to, what I'm really excited to talk to you about is tell us first a little bit about you, how you got cooking with what you do with working with advisors, because I know you've been, if I'm not mistaken, you've been on the other side of that desk too.
I've been working with advisors since 1995. I was not an advisor myself. I was invited by a friend of mine who's an advisor. He's like, can you come and help me out? And way back when, at the time, in school, I was doing all this interesting thinking on personas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People, persona, and all these things. And he and I had a conversation one time about the different personas of clients. Like in business, I said, there's all kinds of people that walk into a business, but they're not just a client. This idea of like a mass market. They're all markets of one. They're all a very specific individual person. There was a lot, he was an advisor. There was what we would call, I guess, a lunch and learn, little informal meeting they'd have once every couple of weeks, what have you. So right then he's like, you ought to come and speak at this. Like, it's not even official. It's not very formal. We're literally eating sandwiches, but this would just be such a wonderful chat. And I was, for whatever weird reason, I thought that was very appealing. Like, oh, what a great idea. I'd love that. So I went in and I did a little, whatever you want to call it, a little casual fireside chat with these folks. And this led to this discussion. This is sort of hopefully not too long-winded. I'll wrap it up quick. But basically, in this discussion, the point I was making is all of these people come to see you with financial planning problems. Mm-hmm. And those are functional jobs. And you need to assure them that you are the person that can handle that. Oh, I understand what you need and I can explain it to you. And there's no question. But beyond that, there's this other thing. And I sort of argued, I said, I think they just want to know they're going to be okay. And then they actually want to talk to you about what's next. Money's just a tool. They want to make sure they're doing it all right. By doing it all right, I mean budgeting and planning and retirement planning and all that stuff. But the moment that plan is in place, we all inherently understand that the check's going to be in the mail for a while. And now we monitor the plan, we save every month, and most importantly, we live our life. And I said, that's your opportunity to the return on life. Return on investments is great, but the return on life, like the value, I said, of the advisor is not the financial plan. The value of the advisor is once you have the financial plan, you can actually talk about stuff that's really important. So we kind of got into it a little, and then I said about feelings and transformation even back then. And as you know, Dennis, right now, the idea of transformation is kind of having its moment. It's popping up all over the financial service industry. I'm very proud of the fact that I've been talking about that for a long time already. And I said, this is mid-90s. Clearly, something is going on down the street at Starbucks that doesn't have anything to do with the coffee. And this guy agreed, and he said, yeah, it's service. And I said, oh, hold on. I don't actually think it's service. In fact, I said, I think their service is kind of terrible. I'm a big Starbucks fan, everybody, so hang on here. I think their service is terrible. I think their experience is incredible. Mm-hmm. Their service is slow. They got to wait in line. Oh my goodness. But their experience and how they make you feel and how they engage with you, that's something. That's the business they're in, is changing people when they're there and letting them leave with a coffee. So I really got started in 95, and I was thinking about clients and guiding transformations and who we're turning these people into even then. It just seemed obvious to me, probably because I was just starting out with my own little tiny portfolio and starting to plan for my own future, thinking, I can't be too different than anybody else. I'm not thinking about this stuff. I'm just doing it. What I'm thinking about is, how happy am I every day? And what am I doing on Thursday? And all that kind of stuff.
You wrote in a recent blog, you said you're not trying to convince the masses to love you. You are trying to win over one person who sees the world the way you do. Just worry about winning over that one person. They'll bring you your next client. How does that message resonate with advisors who really, again, it's, bring them in, this is discovery meeting, and then do this, and then look this way, and put your tie that way. How has that message been received? They just shocked?
Some people embrace standard deviation. Some people jump right on it. Some people, it freaks them out. And then there's that group in the middle that slowly gets there. This is what this is all about. In a world of lookalike products, we had to be lookalike providers. People that buy general stuff just everyday things. They're not passionate about it. They just need something that's going to work. They are conditioned to shop for price. There's this niche weird, or if you prefer niche weird. I live in Canada though, as you know, so we Frenchify that word a little bit. This idea of staging experiences versus delivering services, commoditized services. Services are for everybody. Experiences are for some people. In the service economy, people say the customer is always right. And they're right. You go to McDonald's, you order a Big Mac, you can bring it back to the counter and say, I don't know, there's something wrong with it. They make the same Big Mac the same way 10,000 million times a day in the same restaurant. But what do they say? They say, oh, sorry, sir. And they make you a brand new one and hand it right back. Yep. In the experience economy, and I'll use Starbucks again. If a person says, while in Starbucks, I don't like it, are they right? Or are they just in the wrong place? And I'm going to argue they're in the wrong place. So this is the resistance advisors feel. I live in a city of about 1 million people, okay? So let's say my niche is small business owners. Wow, I can go to sleep every night, climb into bed, believing this fantasy that there's 30,000 small business owners in Ottawa. And if I could just get 1% of them, I'd need to hire 2 associates. Like, I would just, it's so nice. But if you go my route, which is to say, yeah, but you're a generalist. Now follow me down here. How about niche weird? Small business owners. Okay, fair enough. Niche it down even more. Who work in intellectual property. I'll pick me. Who work in intellectual property. They do revenues of about X. These are some of their unique business challenges. Okay, this is who they are as people. Oh, okay, yeah. Now tell me what makes me weird. Which I can't say that word without at least referencing my business partner who hates it when I use that word. So Tom, who will be listening, I know I'm still using the word, but you need to let go of your association with weird as being bad. Weird is okay. Here it is. What makes Dennis weird? I set myself up for all kinds of punchlines here. I never intended to own a business. This isn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something else. I was invited to a lunch. I fell into this. And look at me 25 years later, I'm a screaming success. Okay, ready? Go back to climbing into bed in your city of 1 million people. How many people like me are there in town? Couple of hundred? Ouch! Sleeping is tight? So that's what it is. We can tell ourselves comfortable lies. But here's the thing, everybody. Dennis, you said something in your opening remarks. It was about, sort of growth, success, attraction. Don't overthink this. Businesses that do very, very well and individuals who are very successful, they have something in common. Don't overthink it. Here's what it is. People talk about them. That's it. Hey, have you heard about this place? Hey, have you heard about this person? Nobody talks about normal, average stuff. I'm putting air quotes on that. And let's just agree that these days, it's pretty hard to find something that's normal and average that isn't also amazing. Everything's pretty good, isn't it? And if you want, you can order anything you want from Amazon and have it delivered to your house by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's no such thing as lemons, like bad cars anymore. You can get great everything all over. Everything's good. It's not hard. If you want to be successful, you have to do something that people notice. I talk about the experience economy. I talk about transformation economy. You need to be, as you're listening to this, attention worthy, time worthy, and photo worthy. To all the advisors listening, can you imagine if someone was sitting in your lobby? They're going to have an appointment with you soon. You've DMW'd them, you've Dennis'd them to death. So they're having an emotional, response of desire. They're in your lobby. They've been sitting there for 5 minutes. You cared for them beautifully. You knew their name. You've surprised them. You've created this great moment. And your assistant says, Mary, Bob, it's time that we join Dennis in the boardroom. Can you imagine if they said, oh, okay, and they stood up and one of your prospective clients took their telephone out of their pocket and said, but before we go down the hallway, I just want to take a picture of this. Something in your lobby that has literally captured their attention. Go to time. So much so that if your assistant would have said, you want to sit here for 5 more minutes and just take that in, they might say, if Dennis is okay with it, we'd love that. More time here. And then finally, they want to take a picture of it before they leave. You need to be attention worthy, time worthy, and photo worthy. Everything I do, that's what I'm asking myself. Is it these 3 things?
You know, you talk and you coach on creating experiences. You recently, not to creep you out, because like I said, I read your blog. You recently picked up your Jeep.
Yes.
And as a guy who had a Jeep and poured a lot of money into that thing, I was pretty happy when I bought it, and I was pretty happy when I sold it. But will you share that story? Share the story of your recent Jeep experience as it relates to experiences in general.
Okay, so yes, and I'd love to. It's like therapy to get that off my chest. Everybody, my wife's name is Sherry. And Sherry's had a joke for years. I think it's a joke. It's this. If you spend enough time with Dennis, he'll ruin everything for you. Because we never attend the same event. Sherry and I go to anywhere, a restaurant, I'm experiencing this through my frameworks. So if Sherry says, oh, I really love this, I'm trying to be a good boyfriend. Like, I don't want to say anything, because I have to fight the urge to say, do you want to know why? Like, do you want me to break this all down for you and explain what they're doing to you? When I see great things, this for the record, I tweet about it. I celebrate companies that do wonderful things. I celebrate staff members. I celebrate special little things. I love it. And when I trashed my Jeep dealer, I didn't name them or I didn't want to shame them. Here it is. Service, experience, consequence. That's what this is about. What is a service? A service is all about saving people time and money, everybody. Time and money. Service is, let's get this person's Jeep into this dealership. Let's fix it as quick as we can and call that person, have them come back and get it and leave with it. Let's get that guy back in his car. Done. Experience is how you do it. Okay? Experience is about creating time well spent, meaning slow it down. We don't want to get them in and out fast. We want to create time that's attention worthy, time worthy, photo worthy, even if Dennis is just dropping off his Jeep to get it fixed. So here is the story. When I picked my Jeep up, which they had for weeks, I had to wait for a part, as you know, I suppose, from reading the blog, a little cable. Well, that's the world we're living in these days, and I can handle that. When I got back into my car, it was dirty. By the way, it was dirty when I dropped it off. Dusty on the dashboard. I'm embarrassed to tell you this. It's my vehicle. I beat it up on the cottage road all summer, and it becomes my ski Jeep in the winter. So from snow on the ground until spring, there's literally a ski bag in there and skis at all times. I abuse that thing. When I picked it up, what I thought was, why would you happen to be a $3,000 bill too? That's a lot of money. How could you let a person pick up their car spending $3,000? The difference between service and experience, you think about emotion first. Services, it's business transaction first. We want that thing fixed, fast, pay his bill, and let him leave. Emotion, experience, we go, no, wait. How do we want him to feel? Then do the business. I jump in the Jeep and everybody already sees where this is going. The Jeep is still filthy. It's like, how did you let me give you $3,000 and you can't surprise me by detailing my car? And what adds insult to injury, I kid you not, right beside the dealership, is a car detailing place that I literally bring my car to. For 40, 50 bucks, they'll make your car showroom ready. And all I could think is, gift from heaven. You're telling me if you owned that dealership, you wouldn't have some high school kid on co-op working for you, and you wouldn't say, look, everybody that picks their car up, make sure you bring it next door to Tops, that's what it's called, and have them detail it. And not to be all cynical and jaded. My God, the dealership could afford to pay for that on their own. With all the business they'd be bringing, they'd probably get a pro rate on it. But here it is. If you don't want to pay for it, hide the 50 bucks in the bill. Make me pay for it. How I feel, pleasantly surprised, delighted, et cetera, I'm not even going to notice that bill. Instead, I kid you not, I get in the Jeep, I go, it's dirty. And then as I drive it away, it gets even worse. The turn signal didn't work. So it's like, you had my car for weeks, and before I picked it up, not only did you not clean it, you didn't even have that same fictitious high school kid check out, like, hey, high beams, those turn signals. Hey, for free, we also changed your light bulbs. They cost $2.
Yep.
What is that? It's generosity. So if for everyone listening, the heart of the experience is two things. One of them is authenticity. You got to really want to do it. You can't fake it. You can't. I can't fake me. This is who I am. You got to want to do this. The second is you have to want to share it. And you have to think generously. So this is it. This was said by the two magicians, Penn and Teller. Penn Jillette does all the talking. Teller is the silent type. Well, somehow this quote is attributed to him. Evidently, he does speak from time to time, and when he does, people write it down. He said, sometimes magic. Okay, what do we want people to do? Talk about us. Magic. You wouldn't have believed it. Sometimes magic is just one person spending more time on something than anybody would ever consider reasonable. That's an easy gimme example of, good God, guys, you let me get into a dirty car that had a broken turn signal, and you've had the thing for 56 days. The hell is going on over there? Easy to pick on them. But what if I was coming into your office with Sherry and a good account? How much am I going to pay you a year on it? Times 10 years. How annually, what are your fees? How much do you want to get paid an hour? How many hours do you spend with your clients now? Do you owe them time or money? $1 million account, $10,000 a year. Okay, how much do you want to get paid an hour? $500 an hour. How much time do you spend with your clients in a year? 4 hours. That's 2,000. You either owe them time or $8,000. Now, what if you generously said, remember, emotion first, to your assistant. My right hand here is Susan. Susan, Dennis Mattern is coming in. You've said how many times? I creeped you on the line. You even joked about it. Susan, we got to go James Bond on this guy. I need to figure out everything I can figure out about him, and somehow I need to stage it in this environment so that when he comes in, he says, get out of here. Wow. Is that attention worthy? Yeah. Time worthy? Are you happy you're here? Kind of want to take a picture of that, don't you? Think you might leave and talk about it?
There are so many outlets for products, even financial products. There are so many outlets where you could go direct, you can do these things. And I think it's in the Experience Economy or Serious Shift. One of your books, you talk about, commoditization and the race to the bottom. Yeah. And this is a perfect example. And also, you segue into another story. I'm going to get this one wrong, but you had somebody send you a gift of pepper. And tell us a little bit about that. I think this was in an article on maybe referrals, or this one I'm not remembering 100%.
Yeah, it's my good buddy, my friend Chris. He's a foodie. So, and it's this idea, everybody. Okay, so I love to downhill ski. If you go to YouTube, and it's just further making the same point. If you go to YouTube and you type in downhill skiing, Every video that comes up is going to be crazy. X Games, backflips, the guy's on fire flying through the trees. Like, it's crazy. You might even think, oh, I guess that's downhill skiing. Well, obviously it's not downhill skiing. There's lots of people snow plowing down green runs as we speak. It's what it proves is this. Nobody posts average everyday stuff. Nobody wants to see a person on a groomer skiing down it with no challenge. But when there's something interesting, different, refreshing, something that makes you look, my goodness, it gets shared and goes viral. So I think the point I was making in that blog is, I had a buddy of mine, it was Christmas time, and he gave us peppercorns, everyone. Turns out they don't just come in one color. Oh my goodness, they were all different kinds of them. He brought them back from Asia. And if I remember right, I wrote something like, you have to appreciate something here. Before my buddy knew about this, he didn't know about it, which means somebody else knew about it and had to tell him about it. If you're in your car or your living room or your headphones right now listening to this, you're supposed to laugh a little at the idea the adults would be talking about peppercorns. Niche, niche, weird. My buddy's a foodie. He came home with 1 kilogram of peppercorns. It's just more to my point. Look, there's a million financial advisors out there that want to do functional work. I don't want to get into being an advocate. I don't want to stage experiences. I just want to be a financial advisor. Well, knock yourselves out. But people are only willing to pay 1% for that. And the formula for you to succeed in that model is to spend even less time with your clients and have even more clients to spend time with. Like, it's just a model that grosses me out. It's not for me, but it's your life. I get to talk in the podcast. You get to make your own decisions. Having said that, it's like, wouldn't you rather work with a smaller number of people who just accept that financial planning is necessary and they accept the truth that you, listening, are good at it? And so is the other person listening that you don't even know they're good at it. But there's something about you and this secret you carry inside that you want to share with your clients that changes their life. It's this idea that brings you all together. It's this, the financial planning is subsumed up into this other thing. What's the other thing you help your clients with? And what that needs to be is a total solution. Total transformation. Who are you helping them become?
Wow, what a conversation. I have to tell you, if this is your first experience listening to Dennis Mosely-Williams, he is just fascinating. I personally think he is spot on when it comes to the state of our industry and approaching clients. Now, this is part one of a two-part series with Dennis, and we're going to drop that next episode very, very quickly. So you'll definitely want to keep an eye out for that. In that second episode, I find this really fascinating, but Dennis and I had a conversation about the next 10 years of the industry. I asked him to make a prediction, and one of the things that he predicted has already come true, and that has to do with ChatGPT. Fascinating. So don't forget, like, subscribe, send us your comments. I'd love to know what you're thinking, get you involved in this conversation. We'll see you later.
This podcast is for financial professional use only and not for use with the general public. The information provided is the exclusive property of Creative One and is protected by copyright and other intellectual property laws of the United States. This material has been prepared for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to provide, and should not be relied upon for, accounting, legal, tax or investment advice. Creative One is not responsible for the results of programs discussed on this podcast or any liability stemming from the use of it. Although we may promote or recommend the services offered by this company, agents are ultimately responsible for the use of any materials or services and agree to comply with the compliance requirements of their broker-dealer and registered investment advisor, if applicable, and the insurance carriers they represent. Copyright 2022, Creative One Marketing Corporation.